Hi, everybody. Welcome to Moms Clean Air Force's Stay In and Speak Out event with our Arizona organizer, Columba Signs, and Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick, who represents Arizona's 2nd Congressional District. My name is Molly Michael, and I'm going to tell you more about Columba and the Congresswoman so they can kick off their conversation. But before I do, we have a fun pre-show video from our favorite bilingual performer and Latin Grammy Award winner, Mr. G. Typically, Mr. G performs live for us on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. for our summer play-in, but because we're all staying home this year to protect our families from coronavirus, he's sharing his talents virtually from his studio in Northampton, Massachusetts. Take it away, Mr. G.
Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. I live in the woods with the black bears. We share the same water, we share the same air with the deer and the rabbit, the fox and the birds. It's a beautiful life, it's a beautiful world. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Put your paws in the air, put your paws on the ground, jump up, touch the sky. Now turn around, put your paws in the air, your paws on the ground. Shout out loud, make a joyful sound. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. Patas en el aire, patas en el aire, saltando en el bosque, con tus patas en el aire. I live in the woods with the black bears. We share the same water, we share the same air with the deer and the rabbit, the fox and the birds. It's a beautiful life, it's a beautiful world.
Thank you so much, Mr. G. It's always so lovely to have a little fun entertainment before we get to the real important conversations about air pollution and climate change. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. As I mentioned earlier, I'm here representing Moms Clean Air Force, a nationwide movement of more than 1 million moms and dads united to fight air pollution and climate change. And today I am joined by Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick and our Arizona field organizer, Columba Signs. A mother to 3 little ones, Columba and her family currently live in Phoenix, Arizona, where she loves educating moms and kids on issues related to the environment and health. Columba holds a degree in liberal arts and has worked for over 10 years on uniting her community by teaching faith and community advocacy with a focus on early education and youth group programs. Columba believes in the power of unity and advocating together so that our children are free from pollution and other harmful toxins. And I also have the pleasure of introducing our esteemed guest and member of the United States House of Representatives, Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick, who represents the 2nd Congressional District in Arizona. Representative Kirkpatrick was born and raised in rural Arizona, moved to Tucson to attend the University of Arizona, and has performed a lifetime of service for Arizona families. She worked as a prosecutor, starting her career in the Pima County Attorney's Office before going on to serve in Congress. As a member of the influential Appropriations Committee, Congresswoman Kirkpatrick has crafted a legislative agenda driven by the needs of her constituents, with a focus on making healthcare accessible and higher education affordable, building a robust infrastructure, addressing climate change, and advocating for the district's competitive defense industry. Ann has prioritized bipartisan reforms that directly impact the families, businesses, and communities she represents. Ann lives in Tucson with her husband, and they spend their free time babysitting their 3 grandchildren. And now I will turn to Columba to kick off this conversation with Congresswoman Kirkpatrick.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you, Congresswoman Kirkpatrick. For nearly a decade, moms have been organizing to demand meaningful action to stop climate pollution because it is threatening safety and well-being. But more importantly, for moms, It is threatening the safety and well-being of our children and grandchildren. Now, before we put you on the spot to ask you some questions about your work in Congress, and wanted to give you an opportunity to speak out about your priorities, your thoughts on addressing the climate crisis, and how your work may benefit Arizonans in your district and Americans across the country.
Well, let me just say, I was born and raised on tribal land in Arizona. And one of the things that I grew up with was that we've got to protect the earth. So that is one of the first principles I ever heard as a child. And we used to play a game walking through the forest and trying not to leave a footprint, because it was very important that we leave the earth better than we found it. So that's a core principle of mine that I grew up with, and it's more important now than ever. I got really concerned about climate change a couple of years ago when my husband and I visited Africa. And we visited some island countries that believe they're going to disappear because of the rising oceans. And that's an existential threat to them. And so they're very conscious about what are they going to do? They're probably going to lose their country, probably going to lose their land, and where do they go? And so we really became aware of some mass migration issues that are probably going to happen in the next decade because of climate change. Where do these people go? Where do their jobs go? How do they work? It's the most important issue to me of any of my issues that I work with right now. I am a grandmother. I have 3 grandsons, and I worry about what kind of world they're going to be living in, in 10, 20 years. And so I don't think we can do enough right now to protect the environment, to really address climate change, and it's existential. So we've got to do something immediate. We can't wait. We cannot wait.
Thank you for those thoughts, Congresswoman. I truly feel just like you, and I want to teach my children, and hopefully they can teach their children as well to take care of our world, so we can have a better future for them. We are so happy to have you here today with us, and we are really excited, and we want to give you an opportunity to respond to some of the questions from your constituents. In this election now, more than ever, every vote counts. And as our country struggles with the global public health pandemic, it has never been more important to ensure that voters have access to casting their vote safely this November. Our Latino and Black communities are the most likely to vote for leaders that support climate action. We are also the ones most likely to have more limited access to voting and experience voter suppression. Moms Clean Air Force is deeply grateful for your support of the Delivering for America's Act that protects our postal service and will ensure all Americans have equal access to voting in this election. And to show our appreciation, we have one of your tiniest constituents and his mom to say thank you.
Thank you for voting to protect the United States Postal Service.
Oh, what a cute baby. Oh, thank you. We've had vote by mail in Arizona for decades. And so, a lot of us, that's how we voted. My children have never gone to the polls. They've always voted by mail. But one of the concerns I have is on tribal land, where people like to go to the polls. And vote by mail just hasn't taken off on many of the tribal lands in Arizona. People like to go to the polls. It's a social event. I used to show up there on election day, and the whole family would come in. They'd be grandma, grandpa, aunts, and children all came in as a unit to vote. And that's how important it was. And so they didn't get the right to vote until 1948. So a lot of the grandmas and grandpas remember when they couldn't vote. And so it's really become an important tradition for them, and we want to be able to preserve that. So I do have a little bit of concern as we go through this pandemic. been talking with some of our tribal leaders who also share that concern because they're afraid there's going to be a lower turnout this year, simply because people are just not comfortable going to the polls, but they don't like voting by mail. So we've got it's an issue of voter suppression that we're dealing with in Arizona, and we just have to be very aware of that. Anything we can do to assure people that they're safe and they can go to the polls and vote and be safe, we have to do. So I have to tell you, I'm very concerned about this next election.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, and we feel the same way. We need to have somebody that protects our community at the time of voting. And now, if you're ready, we're going to put you on the hot seat to take some questions from some of your constituents. And
Absolutely.
And the first question comes from Miriam Robles with Mi Familia Vota.
The House Select Committee released a roadmap for combating climate crisis. What is your role in implementing this roadmap in Arizona, and how do you think it's going to impact the way that we approach climate for the state?
I think there are a couple of things that we can do to address it. I can't underscore enough how important it is and urgent that we do something right away. So one of the things that I support is permanent payment in lieu of taxes. So in Arizona, over 80% of our land is public land. And so we don't have the property tax base that many states, especially in the East Coast, have to fund their local program. And so we have to count on Congress and federal money to help us address these important energy issues. And like I said, a few years ago, my husband and I were on the coast of Africa visiting some island countries where they think they're going to disappear. Where do those people go? Where do they, the migration is going to be an important international issue that we're just going to have to deal with. And as the climate gets hotter, we have a concern about what it's going to be like in the deserts of Arizona. Is it going to get too hot for people to live? And what do we do about water? So one of my top concerns is protecting the Colorado River and the water resources that we have in Arizona. We're going to need to do everything we possibly can to make sure people have the water that they need for the future.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And now our next video is from 6-year-old Darely Contreras in Sahuarita, Arizona.
Hi, my name is Darely Contreras and I am 6 years old and I live in Sahuarita, Arizona. What is the most important thing we can do to protect our planet?
Thank you, Emily. That's such a great question. I think the most important thing that we can do is control gas emissions. And so, we still have high emissions from automobiles, and that affects the climate. And we need to, there are ways that we can have clean energy cars. And I really favor that we incentivize that industry and get rid of gas using cars. I think that's one of the first things that we can do. I know there's efforts on the East Coast to do that, and where they've done it, the air has actually gotten substantially cleaner. But that's going to have to be a national effort to incentivize getting away from oil and gas consumption.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And our next question is going to be from Darely's brother, Dariel, who is 10 years old and also lives in Sahuarita, Arizona.
Hi, my name is Darely Contreras. I am 10 years old and I live in Sahuarita, Arizona. I am worried about climate change. What are you doing to help me and other children have a safe future?
Thank you, Dariel. Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the most important issues that we're dealing with in Congress, and I sit on the Energy and Commerce Committee, Appropriations Committee, and so we're trying to address ways that we can incentivize industries, people to get off of oil and gas consumption and use clean energy. We can do it as a country, but it has to be a national effort.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Our next video is from Selena. She's 13 years old and she's in Tucson, Arizona.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Martinez. I'm 12 years old and I live in Tucson, Arizona. What is your favorite part of your job as a member of Congress? And what is the hardest part of your job?
Thank you, Priscilla. I have to tell you, I think the hardest part is having to work in and out of DC. So one of the great things right now, because of the pandemic, is that I can work from Arizona. So Arizona is my home. I was born and raised here. My family's all here. And I enjoy being able to see my constituents in Arizona. I think the hardest thing is flying back and forth. It's a 5 to 6 hour flight and being away from my family. And so, you know, it's nice. It's nice to be in Arizona. I love Arizona, and I'll do everything I can to protect it.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, and thank you, Congresswoman. Our next video is going to be from Selena. It's Priscilla's sister, and she's 13 years old from Tucson, Arizona.
I'm Selena, and I'm 13 years old, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. What do you see as the most promising climate solution on the horizon?
What would you ask your question again? I'm sorry, it cut out a little bit. Selena?
I'm Selena, and I'm 13 years old, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. What do you see as the most promising climate solution on the horizon?
I think the most promising is to get off of the oil and gas production and start using alternative energy. So, you know, we've got some real good efforts in Arizona to promote wind and solar. And, you know, part of this started with former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who made solar energy her top priority. We have so much sun in Arizona. We should be the solar capital of the world. And so we're trying to find ways to encourage people to use solar rather than oil and gas.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, and thank you, Selena. But before we wrap up, I would like to tell you one of the stories of one of your constituents. She is a truly mother at heart. She lives with her husband and 4 beautiful dogs and has so many plants around her house. She and her husband want to have a baby, but with so many things happening in the world, they wonder if this is the right time to bring a child into their lives. They live in an area of Sahuarita, and in the middle of a pandemic, their electricity has been shut down without notification many times. When this happens, one of the options is to leave the house and rent a hotel room. Since dogs are not accepted in hotels and they needed to stay with their dogs, they have gone without air conditioning during the extreme heat waves we have this summer. To top it off, she has a chronic disease and recently tested positive for COVID-19. This time has not been easy for this family. They tried to buy solar panels, but their credit was not approved. How can we ensure that clean energy like solar panels is affordable to our communities, especially to low-income communities?
Yes, and you know, I speak to a lot of school groups, classrooms, and this is one of the top concerns I hear from children is, you know, what's the world going to look like when they become adults? Are they going to be able to afford to have a family? Is the climate just going to be too unbearable that they don't want to experience give their children that experience? And there's a real big concern about it. You know, we also have a concern of we're a border state, and you know, so what happens in Mexico affects what happens in Arizona. So we try to partner as much as we can with the climate groups in Mexico and South America to address this as a regional issue, not just an Arizona issue, but a regional issue, including South America, Latin America, and North America. And how we do that, it has to be a global effort.
Thank you for that. You know, I think about it all the time. My kids are 11 and 9, and I hope to be a grandmother someday. But I know that people are making all kinds of different choices, and you know, have such concern about the future of our planet. And you know, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your time today, Congresswoman, and thank you so much, Columba, for gathering all of those amazing questions from the Congresswoman's constituents. And I know that we have a stop in just a minute, so I will wrap this up for everyone. Thank you so much again. And we have another Stay In and Speak Out for Climate Action on Monday at 2:30 Pacific Time, 5:30 Eastern, with Congresswoman Kim Schreier. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. And thank you again, Congresswoman. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.